This is a story of Bambi. This is a story of Bambi, a shy little deer who grew up to become the brave new prince of the forest. It all began one sunny morning when a little deer was born. There was a great excitement among all the forest animals who had come to welcome the new baby. They stood around, waiting for him to open his eyes.
"What is his name?"
asked a young rabbit.
"Bambi,"
answered the mother deer.
"That's a nice name,"
said the rabbit. At that moment, Bambi opened his eyes for the very first time. He was a little frightened, but soon began to relax when he saw all the happy faces around him. It was summertime. Bambi's mother took the little deer for walks around the forest. There were new surprises each day for Bambi. Once, he saw some forest animals hang upside down. Another time, he met a group of them who went round and round in a circle. Bambi enjoyed playing with Thumper the rabbit. His young friend knew much about the forest and many of the animals and insects who lived in it. He would often tell Bambi their names.
"Those are called birds,"
said Thumper.
"They can fly very far and high."
"Birds?" Bambi repeated. It was his very first word. When a butterfly flew by later, Bambi called out, "Bird!" Thumper laughed and told his friend that it was not a bird, but a butterfly. Once they came to a beautiful field of flowers dancing in the wind. Bambi thought they were all butterflies and happily started chasing them around. All of a sudden, he came across a small black animal with a white stripe down his back. He jumped when he saw Bambi and ran away quickly.
"That's Stripe.
Said Thumper.
He's even more shy than you."
Bambi's mother often took him to the meadow to play. It was during one of these visits that he came across another young deer. Bambi was so shy that he pretended not to see her.
"Don't be shy, Bambi.
Called the mother.
Come and meet Pauline, your cousin."
Pauline was very friendly. It wasn't long before they were happily chasing each other around the meadows. Suddenly, they heard strange sounds. Warned Bambi's mother. Bambi did not know what it meant, but when his mother asked him to run, he ran. Bambi and his mother hid behind some trees. They heard shouts and loud, ugly noises. Bambi was very frightened and pressed himself close to his mother.
"That's man.
Whispered his mother.
He carries a gun that can kill you."
The weather became colder. It was almost winter. Bambi woke up one day and was surprised to find the forest turned completely white.
"Winter is here,"
said his mother. Bambi touched the white ground and felt that it was smooth and cold.
"That's snow,"
his mother said.
"Go on out. Thumper is waiting for you."
Bambi carefully put one hoof out onto the snow. He saw Thumper in the distance and wanted to join him quickly. Before he could even run 2 steps, he skidded and fell. Thumper just laughed at him. Bambi learned how to walk on the snow without slipping. Soon, he was having a fine time playing with Thumper. While he was running near a snowbank, Bambi thought he heard a faint snore. The two friends looked around and found Stripe sleeping in a deep burrow.
Let's wake him up.
Said Uncle.
Don't bother. He always sleeps through winter.
The fun of winter did not last very long. There were less and less food as the weather grew colder. Everybody was hungry, and so was Bambi. One day, the weather became warmer. Bambi and his mother found some new green grass under the snow. While Bambi and his mother were hungrily eating the grass, they heard a sudden loud bang.
Run, Bambi!
Said his mother.
Run as fast as you can and don't look back!
Bambi did as his mother told him. He ran and then heard another loud bang very near him. He did not dare to look or stop, but went on running. When he did stop at last, he found himself all alone. The forest was very quiet. There was no sign of Bambi's mother anywhere. Tears began to well in the young deer's eyes. Then a voice said,
Your mother will never be with you again. She has been taken to another place. From now on, you must be brave and walk alone.
Spring came and the forest was once again green. The sun shone on Bambi's coat as he walked along the forest path. Bambi looked older and had a fine set of antlers on his head. Walking beside a stream, he came across a beautiful female deer.
Bambi! It's me, Feline!
Bambi and Feline were glad to meet each other again. They walked happily down the path together. They did not know that Rono, another male deer, was watching them. Rono was jealous of Bambi. Taking a shortcut, he came face to face with Bambi and Feline.
You will have to fight me if Feline is to go with you,
said Rono. Without another word, he charged at Bambi. Bambi had never fought before, but he was quick enough to meet Rono's charge. They clashed and fought until one of Rono's antlers broke. Rono was hurt. Beaten, he limped off into the forest. Bambi and Feline went away to start a new life together. Summer passed happily for the two of them. One morning, while Bambi was walking quietly with Feline, he heard the sound of barking dogs and shouting voices.
Man!
Bambi warned.
We will have to go out to the hills!
It was too late. The hunting dogs ran forward, but Bambi held them off with his antlers.
Run, Feline! Run!
When he found a chance to escape, Bambi turned and ran after Feline. Bang! A dreadful pain went through Bambi, but it didn't stop him. The forest was on fire.
Run for the river!
Bambi shouted to Feline. They ran as fast as they could through the fire and straight for the river. When they finally reached and crossed it, they found many of the forest animals already there. Bambi was injured, but Feline took care of his wound. That was one of the coldest winters ever. Feline went around looking for food for the injured Bambi. Spring took a long time coming, but when it finally arrived, the forest was even more beautiful than it had been in a long time. News went around that Feline had given birth to 2 babies. All the forest animals came to welcome the new babies. Bambi stood and watched the little group from a distance. He felt proud and happy that he was now the brave new prince of the forest. This is a story of Pinocchio. Once upon a time, there lived a lonely carpenter named Geppetto who had no children of his own. One day, Geppetto decided to make a wooden puppet that could dance and move. I shall call him Pinocchio, he thought. While Geppetto was working on a piece of wood for the puppet, he heard a little voice cry.
Please be careful with me.
Geppetto was greatly surprised. He had never heard of a talking piece of wood in all his years as a carpenter. The puppet tried to walk, but couldn't. Geppetto laughed. He taught the puppet how to walk. When it finally learned how, the puppet ran out through the front doors, along the street, and straight into the arms of a policeman. The policeman gave the puppet back to Geppetto, but not without first asking what its name was. Pinocchio, Geppetto replied. It so happened that Pinocchio was also the name of the policeman's pet tortoise. The policeman thought that Geppetto was trying to make a fool of him.
We'll see who is a fool when we get back to the police station.
Pinocchio ran home thinking that Geppetto and the policeman were both fools. He was laughing when he heard a little voice speak.
You should not laugh at your own father.
Pinocchio looked around and saw that it was a big cricket who was talking to him.
Shut up, Cricket. Nobody wants to hear you. I'm running away and never coming back. I hate to go to school. All I want is to have a good time.
You'll be sorry one day.
Sighed the cricket. Pinocchio became hungry. He looked around the house for food, but found only an egg. When he tried cooking it, a chicken hatched out and flew away. None of the neighbors would give him food either, and so he went home and fell asleep by the fireplace. Little did he know that his feet were slowly being burnt by the fire. There was a knocking at the door.
Open up! It's me, Geppetto!
Pinocchio tried to get up but couldn't.
Help!
He cried. Geppetto heard the cry and thought that Pinocchio was trying to play a trick on him. Angrily, he climbed in through the window. When he looked at Pinocchio, he saw that the puppet's feet had really been burnt away by the fire. Geppetto felt sorry for the puppet and gave him his own breakfast to eat. Pinocchio then asked Geppetto to make him new feet. Geppetto refused. That'll teach you a lesson, he told the puppet. Pinocchio promised that he will be good and agreed to go to school. Geppetto was delighted and made the puppet new feet and some new clothes to wear. Pinocchio needed a spelling book to go to school, but Geppetto was too poor to buy him one. The two sat and thought for a long time until Geppetto suddenly came upon an idea. Stay and wait for me, he told Pinocchio as he put on his old coat and went out into the snow. Geppetto came back with a new spelling book. He had sold his coat to buy the book for his puppet son. Pinocchio was very happy. He promised that one day he would buy Geppetto a beautiful coat to repay him. As he was walking to school, he heard music coming from the distance and ran towards it.
I'll go to school tomorrow.
He thought to himself. The music came from the great puppet theater. Pinocchio had no money and so sold his spelling book to get a ticket. Pinocchio had never seen so many puppets before. They danced and sang, but when they saw Pinocchio, stopped to welcome him as their long-lost brother. The puppet's master, Fire Eater, was furious that the show had stopped.
You!
He shouted at Pinocchio.
I'll put you into the fire for this!
All the puppets begged him not to. Please give him a chance, begged Clowny.
In that case, you go!
Shouted Fire Eater.
Please don't punish Clowny. It's all my fault.
Fire Eater finally forgave both of them. The puppets cheered and there was a big celebration. The next day, Fire Eater gave Pinocchio 5 gold coins to take home to his father. Pinocchio was very happy. While walking home, Pinocchio met a wicked fox and an evil cat. They tried to rob him, but Pinocchio ran as fast as he could. The two caught up with Pinocchio and tried to stab him, but Pinocchio was made of such hard wood that their knives broke. They were so angry that they hanged Pinocchio from a tree and left him there. Luckily for Pinocchio, a blue-haired girl saved him. She was a fairy in disguise. The blue-haired girl took Pinocchio back to her house and put him in a bed to rest.
Tell me what happened,
she said. He told the blue-haired girl that he had lost the gold coins when he actually had them in his pockets. As soon as he told the lie, his nose grew 2 inches longer. Pinocchio went on telling more lies, and his nose grew longer and longer. Pinocchio's nose grew so long that it looked like a tree branch. The puppet was frightened and began to cry.
You shouldn't have lied,
The blue-haired girl said.
now you'll have to go around with a long nose.
Pinocchio cried and promised the fairy that he would never tell a lie again. The fairy finally forgave him. With a wave of her magic wand, 5 woodpeckers appeared and began pecking at Pinocchio's nose until it was the right length again.
Now, be good, and you may become a real boy.
The fairy told Pinocchio as she said goodbye to him.
Go home to your father.
She called and waved. Pinocchio was happy and went home to Geppetto, whom he had not seen for a long time. Once again, Pinocchio met the wicked fox and cat. This time, they managed to rob him of his gold coins. Pinocchio found a policeman and told him what had happened. The policeman thought the puppet was lying and put him in prison for 4 whole weeks. When Pinocchio finally came out of prison, he went home to Geppetto but could not find him. Then he went back to the fairy's house but found that it had completely disappeared. Pinocchio began to cry. He missed the fairy and Geppetto very much. While he was crying, a pigeon told him that his father had gone out to sea to look for him.
Do not cry.
The pigeon told him,
I'll help you to look for your father.
and so the pigeon took Pinocchio on his back and flew out to sea. Pinocchio and the pigeon came to an island where the people worked very hard all day and night to earn their meals. Pinocchio was hungry but refused to work. He then decided to help a woman carry some water, who gave him food for the work he had done. The woman was the blue-haired fairy. Pinocchio told the fairy that he wanted to be a real boy.
Only very good and well-behaved puppets become real boys,
She told him.
They must never tell lies and must go to school.
Pinocchio went to school. He studied hard and became the top student in his class. He became proud and began to skip his classes. One afternoon, Pinocchio went to the magic circus and met an evil magician who turned him into a donkey. Pinocchio had to perform every day in the circus. One day, Pinocchio hurt his leg. Now that Pinocchio had become useless, the evil magician threw him into the sea to drown. While he lay at the bottom of the sea, the evil spell of the magician wore off, and Pinocchio became a puppet again. One day, a shark came by and swallowed him. It was the same shark that had swallowed Geppetto, who was still alive. Pinocchio and Geppetto finally managed to kill the shark. They swam to the surface and was saved by a passing ship. Geppetto was very weak, and Pinocchio had to look after him. The blue-haired fairy finally decided to make his wish come true and turned Pinocchio into a real boy.